What's up, guys? Mason the Rock Henderson here, and this is Gotham Season 2, Episode 8, I think. I always forget to check the episode number before I start this. Anyway, but, there's so much action in this one, it's hard to keep up. Um, Let me just start off really fast. There are a couple things in this episode that didn't work for me. One, once again, I don't know how they keep getting so many cops, but it feels like every single episode now, 3 or 4 GCPD people die. And, it does up the action a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like these cops just keep dying left and right. First of all, who still wants to be a part of the GCPD at this point? You're likely gonna die. But I mean, how do they keep getting so many people to be a part of the police department? Because it feels like 3 or 4 people die every episode, and then they had the huge massacre at the beginning of the season, and then next episode, the GCPD is full again. So I don't know if they just, they're bringing in all these recruits that keep dying. Anyway, it kind of bugged me whenever, that first they lost another. I don't know if either of the people, I don't know if any of the strike force is left at this point. Like before this episode started, I don't know if any of the strike force still remained. But if they do still remain, I don't know about them. It felt like they were just brought in so that Jim could have something to be in charge of, so whenever they died, it would give him something else to feel bad about. Anyway, and the same thing happens in this episode. There's this girl cop. Her name's Parks. She looks fairly young, and before they start this whole shootout, Jim's like giving her some pointers on how to shoot. Aim for the center mass and don't stop until you're sure. And it feels like she was just brought into this episode so that whenever Jim makes the right choice at the end and doesn't kill the bad guy and lets him go, he would have somebody to kill that would kind of affect Jim personally, and make him feel like it's his fault because he didn't just kill the guy. And it's kind of a gimmick for me. I understand what they were trying to do, but it's one thing to have a character that's been a part of the show for a while. Maybe get to know the cops in the GCPD a bit more, so that whenever they do die, there's a bit more emotional payoff. One of my biggest complaints with the strike force is that they didn't give us any time to actually get to know them, and so whenever they're dying off one for the next few episodes, I was just like, oh yeah, that was a strike force member, because they're all getting upset about it. It's like Gonzalez is dead or so and so is dead, and I'm just, Gonzalez is the only name I remember out of all of them. But I'm pretty sure they're all dead at this point. And it didn't even affect me because I hardly got to know them. And the same thing for this Parks girl. You have one moment where Jim's like instructing her on what to do in this kind of like this mentor, apprentice type relationship. Even though we haven't seen her before this episode, I don't think. And then she just dies at the end of the episode. And it was because Jim chose to let the bad guy live. I'm just like that. So that's the only reason she was in this episode. It didn't work for me. And then there were a couple of really cheesy moments. The first season had a lot of cheesy moments with Fish's character. She was just, her character was really cheesy, and I will give Jada Smith some credit because she really did bring that to the role. I think that was on purpose to kind of make this, because like most comic book characters, when they're brought into real life, if they're played like their comic book selves, are very cheesy. And so I think she was trying to play a bit to that comic book sense, but because everybody else around her was acting non-comic book like, it made her, really seem, because I mean Penguin is, he's not really cheesy. what you would imagine Penguin was like if he wasn't a comic book character, um, and that's why. Uh, what? Why can't I remember his name now? Like I know his name so well most of the time, and now I can't remember it. Robin Lord Taylor. That's why his character is so wonderful to watch. Because one, it's a little bit of psychotic in him that you can see from how he was brought up, being picked on all the time, and then but he's not over the top like comic book crazy. Um, for the most part, there are times when he does, but Jada Smith's character Fish was just so over the top all the time. And it wasn't until the back end of last season that they really kind of accepted the fact that they had to go a little bit comic book cheese. Um, and that's what's been kind of fun about this season is that, yes, there have been a lot of intense moments. Yes, there have been a lot of serious moments. But there's a lot more fun in this show right now. And that's why the first 3 episodes with Jerome were so good. Because he made it fun. He made it fun to be a part of this. And even in this episode, there's still a lot of fun in it with the different what's his name, the guy at the end, the hitman, Flamingo. He was just so comic book like. He was what you'd imagine a comic book villain would be. He's got the black hair with the white stripe, and he's talking all like he's what's the word, like he's getting turned on by the thought of eating people. It's just like, okay, I'll deal with it. And I'm just like, this is so stupid, but that's what's great about this show right now, is that they accept that. They accept the fact that they're gonna be a bit cheesy, acting like comic book characters. It's fun. But there was a couple moments with the hitman, like when Tabitha went in, that one lady she talked to. There was that one moment when the first hitman got captured, and she like goes over. They're playing craps, and so the girl throws the dice, and she like catches him and opens up her hand. It's a perfect 7. I'm like, okay, come on, like this is. Let's not go too unrealistic here. I could accept her catching them. That would be funny. But to open it, it's a 7. No. Okay, no. Let's stop there. And that was something that when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, really? Like, that was stupid. But other than the fact that all these cops are dying, and then those couple moments that just were so cheesy that it was unbelievable, this really was a really well done episode. Because you start off with Tabitha, hiring the hitman, and then that's the next. It's kind of the next scene. Is Jim? They have a conversation with Lee. I like the fact that she says it's not jealousy. Because that was one thing I was really worried about with everything that happened with Barbara last week, is that she was going to be all jealous about it. Like, I can't believe you kissed her and blah blah blah. But she says it's not jealousy. It's not that. She's worried about him. I don't think she ever said that's what it is, but you can tell she's worried about him and the fact that he's kind of playing into his dark side a little bit, which it's fun to see. The first season, whenever he was all upstanding, not gonna do anything wrong, not gonna make any mistakes. I understood it. I understood what they were going for, but it was unrealistic. To be in this town and not, to be a cop for this long and not like give in at all it felt unbelievable. And so that's why with this season with Captain Barnes, when he came in, when he was talking about, not crossing the line and stuff like that, it felt like he didn't understand Gotham. It felt like, look, you can't play like that in Gotham. You can play by the law, but the way that Harvey and Jim are doing their interrogation techniques, tossing guys out of windows, obviously not killing them, but tossing them out of windows and roughing people up a bit to get information. I'm not saying that's right, but right now how Gotham is, if they don't do stuff like that, there's no way that they're gonna win. There's no way that they're gonna beat the bad guys because coloring inside the lines in Gotham is a weakness at this point because the bad guys are so powerful, and there are all these villains out there and all these people that can just kill them at any point. If you don't color outside the lines a little bit, you're not going to win. You're going to be behind. You're going to be 5 steps behind at all times because they've got that luxury to go. Obviously, they go way outside the lines, but roughing people up a little bit. I understood it. I was like, these people, first of all, they kind of deserve it, but they're not just going to give in just because you take them in and interrogate them. You do have to rough them up a little bit to get some information. And so that's why it was nice to see Captain Barnes finally, he and Jim were talking. He had just been stabbed by a guy. And they have this nice moment with him where he's just like, look, there is no line, Jim. There's only the law, and that's what separates us from the animals out there. And he does tell a little backstory for him, how he was in the war, and a sandstorm hit. They were getting fired upon, and then one of the prisoners that they had taken in, just a kid, tried to escape, and he chased him down, tackled him, put a gun in his mouth, and he said, I don't even remember what happened, but next thing I know, I pulled the trigger. And it was kind of a moment of, wow, like, I never would have guessed that. But it does make sense now why he's so strict, because he's been in that place before where Jim is right now, of, what's the best decision to make, what's the right decision, and what is the moral decision to make. And so that's why he's so strict on it, because he doesn't want to see good cops fall into the same thing that he once fell into. And so, like I said, Jim does have that ultimate showdown with the flamingo guy, and has a gun in his mouth, and ultimately decides not to kill him. Which leads to, like I said, the Parks girl. Don't really even know who she is, but she ends up dying because of that decision. Really stupidly too, because like the guy he does that little prisoner thing where they're like, oh, and falls down like they're getting sick, and then it's like he didn't really even move that fast, but he just like gets up and starts biting on her neck and like chews her neck open, and she just stands there like, ah, and I'm just like, oh my god, like that was okay. I didn't mention that as part of the problem, but that did kind of bugged me, because especially watching like The Walking Dead and seeing how some of those people, like, they will fall down at the wrong time, or if there's a walker about to like bite them, they don't fight back. They just kind of stand there and go, ah, as they're getting bitten. And in that show, it kind of makes sense, because some of those people are just so freaked out by the fact that they're about to die that okay, they may freeze up under the terror of it. But this is just like a guy is coming to bite your neck, and you just stand there and go, ah, as you're dying. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, what is that? What is that your best tactic? I'm gonna bite your neck. Okay, I want to stand here and scream. I don't know, that just, once again, it felt like a gimmick to, okay, well, he's got to kill somebody, so Jim feels bad about it, so he'll question his choice and blah blah blah. So it is a minor nitpick as far as the story goes. I do understand what the purpose of it was. I do understand why they did the whole thing, but just, I don't know, the way that they did it, and the acting of it, the portrayal of it, it just felt so forced. It felt so gimmicky. So anyway, a couple other good things about this episode. You do have another great moment again with Bruce and Alfred. I found it funny. I know it was kind of like serious at points, but I just found myself laughing every single time, like, because Bruce, he invited Silver St. Cloud back over. I think he's trying to use her to get the information about who killed his parents, because he figured Galavan does have that information, or else he wouldn't It's not like he would just ask for the business and then not follow up with the information. Even if he did have a plan, it's not like he just didn't have that information. Um, and so he tries to get out of Silver, but not before Alfred comes in and tells her to leave. And so Bruce gets upset and tells him, I want to know what happened to my parents. And Bruce is just, Alfred's just like, you don't have that type of, you don't have those deception techniques right now. You're not that good of a liar to be able to get that information out of her. Um, and I don't know. I just thought it was hysterical because obviously later in life, Bruce, first of all, he'll be a much better judge of character. So he won't just fall into the fact that, oh, she's pretty, so I can trust her. And on top of that, the fact that he's able to maintain Bruce Wayne's status while still being Batman. He does have a bit of deception technique. He can act intimidating while still being a suave bachelor on the side. And so, I like that. I like the fact that we're kind of he's already starting to learn some fighting techniques from Alfred, but now we're starting to get into the other side of it, which is his deception, his ability to keep an alter ego. And later on in the episode, once again, another hysterical moment. He's in his pajamas, and it's like one of those fancy robe pajamas. But anyway, he tells it, I'm sorry, Alfred. I promise I won't do anything, and I'll contact Detective Gordon tomorrow. And he starts to leave, and Alfred's just like, oh, by the way, that taxi that you called, yeah, I sent them away. I didn't call a taxi. And then he pulls out these keys, and Bruce looks in his pocket. They're not there. He's like, you're a terrible liar, aren't you, Master Bruce? That was hysterical to see Alfred just completely read him like that. But once again, it's showing how Bruce had to learn all of this stuff from somewhere, and you're really getting that Alfred was the reason. Alfred taught him a lot of stuff, and I hope they get into that a bit more, because that's fun. He's not Batman yet, and a lot of people, myself included, are like, okay, so much Batman stuff. Come on, this is not supposed to be about Bruce Wayne turning into Batman. This is supposed to be about Jim Gordon and what happened with him before Batman came in, before he was Commissioner Gordon. But I like where they're taking it. They're not taking it in a Batman route just yet. They're showing more of, Bruce and Alfred's relationship and how he was more of a mentor than he was his butler. And I like that. One other really good thing about this is what happens at the end. Setting up for next week very, very, very much. First of all, you have Lee and Jim, and they're kind of, you can tell that they've reconciled it, but I feel like that argument in particular is done. What happened with Barbara, the fact that she was baiting him, trying to tap into his dark side, and how he decided not to kill the guy, but he thought about it, but he ultimately made the right decision, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like that the war itself, the battle is over, but the war is still going on type thing, where that particular argument is done, but the whole argument in itself of Jim and his dark side, I don't think that's done yet. And I wonder where they're going to take that. Then you've got Tabitha going back to jail to meet with Theo. She didn't get captured. She went to jail to meet Theo, and they had just this moment where Theo's just really upset with her because she hired a hitman to take out Jim. It's like, I told you don't do anything until I give you command. Said the brothers are coming into town. They're gonna kill Bruce Wayne. Our plan is still in motion. I'm just like, how is your plan in motion if you're in jail right now? That must have taken some serious planning to get captured but still be able to work the plan. Anyway, but it shows that even though Jim did step in and get him arrested and find all of this information, there's still a plan in place. He's still got something up his sleeve, and it's nice to see that he's not going to go down without a fight. Because I was really worried that it was just going to be, oh, he gets captured and That's it. No, there's something else. And based on next week, it looks like something's gonna happen where he gets exonerated from all of the. Why can't I find words this morning? Accusations. I I don't know. I have a headache. I'm tired. Just don't ask questions. Let me finish this. And it does show the last scene. It shows these brothers, whoever they are, getting into town, and it shows that the Father Creole guy that Theo was talking to earlier meets them at the docks. This dock worker comes up. What are you guys doing here? And then they all like take out knives and stab him, and then he only has like 10 wounds for the 20 guys that stabbed him. I don't know. That nitpick, it just crossed my mind. I was like, how did he get so few stab wounds when there's so many guys and they stabbed him more than one? Anyway, but like I said, just really, really good episode. Sets up for next week well. And I like that that's how they're doing it now. It's very much a, here's your episode, but here's something at the end to set up for next week. Here's your episode, here's something at the end to set up for next week. They've done that very well this season, where, it is a running storyline, but there's a different story every week. The story that week does finish. Oh my gosh. I gotta talk about Penguin and the Riddler, because like I said before, how the Riddler kind of become my least favorite part of the show for a while, because it was just so, oh, he's gonna get the girl and blah blah blah, he's gonna turn, but they took it in an interesting way, because at first I was just like, really, the Penguin's gonna teach the Riddler? But then, the Penguin was just, he was just in bed like, I'm done. Like, it seemed like he was completely done with Gotham after losing his mother. And it made sense. He lost his mother. The man that killed his mother is in jail now, so there's no way to go kill him. He lost everything that he had. He was the king of Gotham. He had all the crime, and then his right-hand man turned on him. He lost everything. And so it made sense when he was just like, I'm done. But then Enigma talks him back into it in this very good scene, and he starts saying, how you need to unencumber yourself. And Penguin grabs a knife and holds it up to his neck. He's like, my mother was a saint, how dare you? And then Enigma just this new personality he has, it just comes out of him, and he just talks in this really commanding voice. He's just like, I see before me a man who does not have any, has lost a bargaining chip. Now he has nothing. Nobody can buy him now. And just really good scene. And basically, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was basically saying that now that his mother is gone, now that there's nothing anybody can hold over his head. There's nobody that they can threaten the Penguin. And that it's kind of the kick in the butt that he needs to get back into it. And the final scene, it shows him, Enigma had brought this guy who worked for Galavan, but Penguin didn't want to kill him because he was done. But now he's just like, what did you do with that guy? And he's still in the closet. And so it's nice to see that they're kind of taking that in a different route than I thought they were going to. And instead of Penguin teaching the Riddler how to be a bad guy, now it's the Riddler kind of helping the Penguin get back on his feet, because he's really out of it right now. But anyway, that's about it for this episode. Can't wait to see what they do next week. See if how many of these storylines are really going to come back into it. How much the Penguin and the Riddler are going to play into the main plot. So really excited to see what they do, and let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next review. Peace out.